Welcome home to St. Anne's. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.
Please be seated. So some people measure the seasons based on the moon. But here at St. Anne's, it's really based more on whether or not I'm vested or not. And you may have noticed that I am not vested, which means it is summer. And as many of you know, I have MS, and MS and heat do not get along at all. So you may notice that I'm kind of a very sensitive rose, if you will, and so I'm pretty wilted today. So ignore me, which means you guys all lucked out because it is Ascension Day, and my big exciting plan was to release ladybugs and bless the bees. But y'all lucked out. The ladybugs haven't come in time because they're apparently on a slow boat from California, and they're not here yet. So y'all lucked out because I'm still going to do all those things, but you'll get to see them via a live feed, which I will post later, so you don't have to worry about my bees swarming at you. I have to worry about that, but I'll be in a bee suit, so it doesn't matter. I'll be fine. So congratulations. You lucked out. We are celebrating Ascension Day today, as only St. Anne's can do Ascension Day, because usually it is what's considered a high holy day, which in many churches means that we would break out the incense and I'd be wearing a cope, but we're doing it by me not vesting at all and the kids blowing bubbles. Because here at St. Anne's, that's how we do. So, Ascension Day. Okay, so our gospel today is somewhat convoluted because it's from John, and that's how John works. John is beautiful. The Greek is absolutely stunning. But the only word that could kindly be used to describe John is convoluted, which you may or may not have noticed that I garbled up a lot of that gospel today. Because MS also means that I speak like a horrible, awful way. So just bear with me today. Just bear with me. I'm running on caffeine and love. So, Jesus, God bless us. We're going to make this happen. Okay, so our gospel today. It goes something like this. This is Jesus' prayer for the disciples. This is right before the garden. So right as Jesus is preparing to be betrayed, right as we're getting ready for the crucifixion, this is his final prayer. And I think it's really interesting because Jesus knows what's coming. And you would think the disciples kind of sort of know what's coming because he's been warning them for a while, but no, because nobody. This is like your aunt who has been telling you that she's been dying for like 30 years. And she's like, my epitaph on my gravestone will be, I told you so. You all have that aunt, right? We all have that aunt. And eventually they're right. So Jesus has been warning them for a long time, but they're all like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. And then, it does happen. But Jesus has this final prayer. And this is the prayer that he offers. And like I said, it's very convoluted because what this prayer is really centered about is, and I referenced this a little bit a couple of weeks ago, about how Christ, I know, one of these days I'll do another Jesus versus the Christ versus Jesus, but it's exhausting. And so it goes something like this. Jesus is the Christ, but the Christ is not always necessarily Jesus. I get that that's weird and as convoluted as John, so talk to me about it later and I'll go a little bit more in depth. But just as all mothers are not Meg, but Meg is a mother. Okay? Similar. All right. Happy Mother's Day. That's my Mother's Day reference. That's what you get. And why it's only okay for my children to call me Mother Meg. And like the 5-year-olds, because it's cute when they do it. You all do it, and I'll probably cringe. But it's cute. Like Alex, when I first got here, was like, Mother Meg. And I was like, okay, it's cute when Alex does it. Okay, Mother's Day sermon. There it is. That's what you got. I know, now he's not allowed to do it anymore, Alex, right? You can't do it anymore. It was cute like 6 years ago when I got here. You've like reached the age where it's not cute anymore. Okay. So Jesus has this prayer to the disciple, or for the disciples, and it goes something like this. Because God and Jesus have the connection that they do, in which love overflows through that, and Jesus is sanctified and strengthened by God to do what Jesus does in this world. So too we have this connection with God through Jesus. Does that make sense at all? Nod yes. Yes, it makes sense. Sure. Yeah, whatever, Meg. Absolutely. So love from God overflows to Jesus. Love because of Jesus overflows to us. We are called, therefore, to love so much that our love overflows to the world. Okay? Now, you would think that this prayer would be something like, Dear God, I'm going to die and it's going to be awful. And these poor disciples are going to be traumatized. So if you would be so kind as to make their life easy from them from here on out, that'd be great. Now, that might be what I would pray. Because you're like, man, they've been through a lot right now. That's not what Jesus prays. Jesus prays not that life will be easy for them, but that they will feel the strength and love and support that God has given to Jesus to help Jesus get through a very, very difficult time. And it's going to get more difficult, and Jesus knows that it's going to get more difficult. So he doesn't pray that it all goes away. He prays that they know the love and strength that they are offered. That's important. Because there are two primary ways to live a religious life. One is the life of the hermits. Think of the Desert Fathers. So, and there are many, many sects even now that have this mindset of like, man, this world is so messed up. There ain't no saving it. We'd probably just be better off to remove ourselves from it. So that's one way. The other way of handling a religious life is to be like, you know what? This world is incredibly broken. And the only way that we can make it better is to live in it in a religious way and hope that our presence in it changes it. Now, the Episcopal Church, of which you all are a part because you're here and I've hereby, plus our presiding bishop preached at the wedding. Woot, woot. Yeah, y'all say woot, woot because Episcopalians are not known for their preaching. So this is kind of a big deal, and I'm super excited about it. So our PB was asked to preach at the royal wedding. Hello, holla, super excited about it. I guess if anyone can rock that place, it's him. If anyone can make that wild and crazy, it is him. So, where was I? Okay, anyway, so there are two ways, and the Episcopal Church, we've always been of that group to say the world is a troubled, broken place, and the best way to proclaim and live out our faith is to be in this world seeking to bring Christ into it, seeking to change it by our presence in it. So we in general do not believe in leaving the world. We believe in bringing God to the world. That is our approach. Now, having said that, it's super hard. Anyone here ever been like, it's pretty easy living in this world as a Christian? No, it's not. Not if you're living the Christian thing. It's super, super hard. And that's why Jesus knows that. Jesus knows that this is not a simple thing to do. In fact, it's a lot. I mean, who has not been tempted to be like, I'm going to go build myself a hermitage, and I'm going to live out with my cat. Because, like, my cat gets it. So I'm going to live in my little cell. Guys, I've been tempted so many times. Not going to lie, because there are lovely areas in rural Missouri where, like, I could just like, go and you all would never find me. And I could just go with my cat. Just me and my cat, my little hermitage. But that is not what we are called to do. What Jesus calls us to do is take our faith to the world and live in it. And that's super, super hard to do because the world is full of temptations to be a part of that world, isn't it? And we all fall into those temptations quite often, to be honest with you, because, hello, they're Cadbury eggs and they're delicious. They are. I know, this is like the 20th sermon that references Cadbury eggs, and I don't care because they're delicious. And so, Jesus prays for us. And here's the deal. Jesus actually prays for us because what we don't read in this gospel, but it's so, so important, so I don't know why we don't read it because it's really important. Jesus prays for the disciples, but then he goes on to pray for those who will come to believe through those disciples. Y'all, that's us. That's us. So way back then, way back, when Jesus is getting ready to be crucified, Jesus prays for us. Because Jesus knows that what we are called to do is horribly difficult. And it is. It's so incredibly difficult. I mean, not as difficult for me because there aren't any Cadbury eggs left. And I can't find them. So, that at least temptation is a little bit less, and don't worry, it'll be back next spring. I got hope. But the temptation in our world is so incredibly strong. And we need to know that Jesus prays for us to do the work that we are called to do in this world because it's hard to do. And I want us to hear that because I know frequently I'm always getting on us to be better Christians, live out your life, do this, do this, do this. I know y'all get really tired of it sometimes. And when I'm not doing that, I tell you about how we're going to bring more bees and ladybugs and all these other crazy things that I'm going to do because when I got time on my hands, you never know what I'm going to come up with us for a do. But no, that's not what I'm going to do today because what we need to hear today is that Christ knows what we are called to do is hard. Christ knows that what we are called to do is virtually impossible to do. And so Christ prays for the same strength that was given to him to be given to us. Because the disciples have Jesus, don't they? They have him in their presence, frequently yelling at them, being like, y'all are idiots. And that's literally what Jesus says to them on a pretty frequent basis. Jesus is not all unicorns and rainbows and fluffy stuff. Jesus is a lot of sarcasm, a lot of drinking, a lot of vicious things. That's why we all love Jesus so much, right? We're all like, yes. Jesus would be an Episcopalian. Jesus would so be an Episcopalian. I'm just going to say that. I know it's heretical, but I stand by that. And I will stand by that forever. Jesus would be one of us. And he knows that it's going to be really, really hard. And so he prays that the same strength and love that he has been given be given to us now. Because with Jesus gone, our work just got even harder to do. Because there's not Jesus yelling at us, being like, y'all, I'm going to say it for you again because you didn't get it the first time. We don't have that. You have Meg yelling at you about bees. That is not the same thing. Not even close. Y'all be like, please send us Jesus. And I'm with you. I'm like, please send us Jesus. Well, we ain't got Jesus. But what we do have is Christ's prayer for us. And that's what we need to hear. That Christ prays for us, for you and me. And we need it. We really need it because what we're called to do is hard to do. And so here's what I want you to do, what I want all of us to do, is take a minute. What is the thing that is overpoweringly difficult for you right now? What is this thing that comes between you and really, truly living the life that you're called to live? We all have it. We all have that thing that is just like, that is what is exhausting to me. That is what is confusing to me. That is what gets in the way for me. It could be all sorts of different things. It could be Meg and her bees. It could be, don't pray to get rid of the bees, though. I mean, the world needs more bees. That's why we have them. So don't pray against the bees. You could pray that I not be so into the bees. That's fine. But I want you to really, really think about what that thing is. What is the thing that comes between you and living the life that God calls us to live? Because know this, Jesus prays for us. Jesus continues to pray for us. So what is that thing? What is that thing? It could be one word. Because chances are, if you think of one word, it's easier to latch on to it. What is the one thing? You know what my one thing is? Distraction. I mean, y'all noticed it, like every single sermon. I'm like, ooh, squirrel. Yeah, gotta help you. Gotta help y'all. I chase squirrels a lot, don't I? So, what is it for you? What is it? That's mine. Mine is distraction. Whatever it is, lift it up. And trust, God's not going to take it away. Brothers and sisters, there will always be squirrels, and I will always be chasing those squirrels. Always. Always. But we can, at least to some degree, know what those things are and be given the strength, know that we have the strength to deal with those things. And that is the prayer that God offers to us today. What is that thing that gets in the way for you? Lift it up to God. Trust that God probably will not take it away. But trust that you might know the strength and the love that allows you to overcome and deal with that thing. Because, squirrel!
We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.
We believe in one God,